I personally had some pretty toxic traits, I would say, that brought me to a point of understanding that these have an impact on not only my mental masturbation, but my physical body was actually getting affected negatively by these traits. So I would say cut those out as much as you can.
Yeah. It really just depends what's kind of leading you astray, because one thing for someone won't really affect the other person, whereas it could have a real huge effect on someone. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to self-governance, I think. Really.
Self governance, self control, self governance. That's the part that's the hardest for me, especially for these habits, right? These habits that I found that were really messing with me.
Yep.
One of them was porn. So porn was a huge one. I would go on these benders, right, where I would just continually watch porn. I'd spend hours and hours just watching different videos and just go into town. Maybe I would finish a few times. Maybe I just finish once, but I would waste days just on this porn bender, like this porn euphoria, not like the TV show, but I would just continually watch different porn videos. And then I would go between porn videos and Instagram, and I would Facebook, and I would look at different photos of people that I knew. And then I'd go back to porn videos, and I'd keep getting deeper and deeper into this porn video. Not only did that get me into a place of trying to perfect what my sexual desires were and find this thing that I can never find, this intangible desire for something that just couldn't be quenched. But it also gave me this sense of I was okay, like this was fine. Everyone else is doing this, and I am totally normal, and this is not helping me at all. But as you mentioned earlier, prolactin levels, and not only prolactin levels, but there was also a sense of sexual frustration that came out with my partners not being able to ejaculate during sex, having porn induced erectile dysfunction because my dick would be like half hard and I would just go to town for like an hour and I would just wouldn't ever get to the point of finishing unless I was doing it myself and I was thinking about porn. I was thinking about viewing porn. So that was one of those habits that sucked the life out of me.
Just like you said, like coming back to reality and seeing what has led you so far to really change your mind and connect these neurons to the only way you can get pleasure, and it's within your control. So
It does take work, but it's possible. That actually lines up with the second habit that I had, which was consuming too much news, consuming too much social media,
yeah.
consuming so much information that I didn't even know these things existed. Like I didn't have this thought process until I started consuming all these things, especially from my phone. I stopped watching TV a long time ago, and it's very rare that I would watch TV, but being consumed by all these different ideas and thought processes just confuse the heck out of you, and you're getting your cortisol so high from stress. You get drawn into these shows, you get drawn into what's happening in the world, and you get these mirror neurons just firing off, thinking that you're in danger, thinking that all these things are going to happen. You get stuck in this mindset of I'm screwed, I'm not good enough, or you're comparing yourself, or you see everything that's happening that's bad, and you're thinking how sad it is and how awful it all is, and all the bad news that's happening, and you're like, okay, this is affecting me. So your body goes into defense mode and shoots up your cortisol, which we know from The Androgen Diet by Andre Bettinson, forward by Dr. Farhan Kawaja. And in that book, it talks about cortisol and how cortisol plays a direct role in your testosterone levels and your other hormones. So that is something that people really need to get to the bottom of in order to overcome that habit, because it is so easy to just kill success with that consumption mindset, that cortisol, that constant cortisol.
Yeah, totally. um it's it's crazy, and I want to obviously give credit where credit is due, because there just the other day when we were kind of post podcast, I got suckered into that Athlean X ad, and I was interested, of course, because whenever someone in fitness is going to talk about hormones, then I'm all ears. I want to see what their take is. And with that, or no, wait, I said Athlean X, but I meant geez, V Shred. I mean,
V-Shred.
even V Shred's name is kind of a copy of Athlean X because you have the V, you have the X. But
It's just
anyways,
letters at the end of the alphabet.
yeah. I mean, we know our good friend V Shred did copy some of Athlean X's video content. He's been dragged through the mud through that deservingly. But anyways, watch that V Shred ad, and they sucker you in with a quiz. They're like, here, take this quiz that will tell you everything that you want, and it's just questions that don't really actually matter. And then watch this half-hour video. But the hormone they ended up saying that was killing testosterone for people was not estrogen, not even prolactin, which could have been a good angle in some way, but most people just don't know what prolactin is. But they said it was cortisol. And I was like, ooh, very interesting, very true. And they ended up talking about those foods that, of course, I talk about in the androgen diet to avoid your highly processed plant oils, soy, soy kind of, for a different reason. But they had this list of foods that were crippling your testosterone levels, and it was pretty enlightening. So it was not bad, because most people would just say estrogen because they perceive that as the opposite to testosterone, which not the case. That's so they didn't take the standard bodybuilder route where they're like, oh, fuck estrogen, bro. I'm taking a aromatase inhibitor while I'm getting my injections, and then they get completely fucked up.
Completely fucked up.
But yeah, so I mean, credit to
man.
them for looking even at cortisol. But I think it's
Right.
one of the things girls are pretty aware of, because there was like a really repeated commercial, and they used the phrase stubborn belly fat and cortisol. This commercial like ran like crazy, and it was probably around the last time I ever watched TV. But even then, I knew about cortisol because of this stupid commercial. And so it's kind of an interesting take how they were correlating cortisol with not being able to lose body fat. And it's
Smart.
kind
They're
of a
learning.
paradoxical way that it does so. But yeah, I mean, at least someone was looking at it back then. But of
Well, I
course,
think
it's women. So
the women are different than the men, but there's also some overlaps as well. I think the hardest part for both of the women and the men is overcoming these and trying to replace these habits and get into those routines that change their um, mechanisms, their systems. It changes what they're doing. So they're actually able to have healthy habits versus focusing on these problems and using these as gateways and using these as things that can just distract them from what's happening. So I wonder how you personally are able to push past those habits and work towards building better habits, like with the gym, building better habits with creating music, and how you can overlook other habits that may have been damaging or replace them with something that's more helpful. Because I know for me personally, the best way I replace habits that are not good for me is through routine. Because when I have free time that I have nothing to fill with, the easiest thing to fill that time with is simple pleasures and simple habits. So I try my best to fill my time with a routine, with some kind of focus on exercise, with nutrition, with cooking food, or going somewhere that helps me with exercise, going for a walk, going for some kind of exercise loop, because I don't have a gym to go to right now. So I'll go outside and I'll do pull-ups, I'll do push-ups, and I'll do something to get my brain off of those tasks that are just so easy to pull my phone out, go on the computer, do something that's just so simple instead of actually taking the time to replace those plans with something that is much more beneficial for my life and my health in general.
yeah, it's pretty crazy because once we know what the good things are that we can do to get in a good routine with, then the dividends just pay off so quickly, it seems. And of course, it takes time, it takes weeks, and depending on the goal, it takes even longer. But there's real strength when you're able to adapt something into your routine and enjoy it enough to continue that. Set up the process so you enjoy it, or look at it in some way that you enjoy it, even if it may involve not wanting to wake up to go to the gym, but you still do it, and you get that boost afterwards to continue it, and you track your progress to see, hey, this is actually working. So you continue it. It's super powerful as long as you set things up right and analyze. It's really kind of while we're talking about it, like the prolactin aspect to just sitting back, not having a plan, not having even regularity to your schedule, which can create issues. Of course, we know with melatonin, among others, but just throwing the timing off. We're not necessarily meant to be a spontaneous, as men. That's just not ideal. I mean, you can make some spontaneous choices to mix things up, which is always good, and you can benefit on that end. But really, just being dialed in with life and what your goals will be eventually and get there, then it's super, super powerful. Like for me,
Superpower.